Right. So, what we discussed in the previous session about agile values, because in context to the agile values and the first one about individuals and interactions, because we give more importance for individuals and interactions. So this is where daily scrum meetings, etc., will be conducted. So after that, working software over comprehensive documentation means we directly work on the application directly. So as far as the documentation itself is concerned, we don't prepare anything as such. But in context to the Jira tool, we have a provision for Confluence tool. So that is used for document collaboration. Like if you want to prepare any product requirements or whatever the kind of meeting notes we have created, everything can be done using it. Next one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation means customer will also be a part of the project. Customer is also one of the key uh, individual, right? So in the context of role of a product owner, usually this customer collaboration will be taken place. So that if there is any confusion over the development of the application, or if we have any assumptions customer is having, right? So all these things can be rectified using this customer collaboration part. The next one, responding to change over following plan, means whatever the changes we wants to make, these changes can be done at any point in time. So this is one of the key important element when we are working on the agile part. So these are the four agile manifesto principles are comes under agile one, right? So when we are working on agile. Now here is the next question anyone can ask me. Then Raj, how different agile, scrum, etc. Because agile is a methodology or a process which has some values, which has some manifesto principles, etc. But whereas when it comes to the scrum and all everything were frameworks, because scrum is one of the framework under agile. Agile, scrum are not same. Okay, so if you differentiate, if you want to have the differentiation, agile is a methodology which is under some manifesto principles, manifesto and principles combination of. But when it comes to the scrum, scrum is a framework. Scrum have some ceremonies. Scrum has some artifacts. Okay, so the difference I am writing here so that you can understand. So if you want, my voice is audible, right? Is there any noise is coming or something? Is my voice is audible to you?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's audible.
Okay, great. So the difference you can see, because most of the people confuses here, right? So how Scrum and Agile are different, right? So is it same or different, right? So difference between Scrum, Agile, and Scrum as follows. As follows. When it comes to Agile, Agile is a methodology. And a process. Whereas when it comes to the Scrum, Scrum is a framework. Scrum is a framework. So necessarily not all the projects will work on Scrum, right? So depends on other factors. I'll explain those factors later. Depends on multiple factors, which framework we are using and all everything will be different. Okay, that's a different thing altogether. But generally, Scrum is considered as a framework. Agile is a methodology or a process. If you want to understand Agile and if you want to implement Agile, there are some manifesto principles are there. Okay, so if you are going to understand about Agile, that's what we have discussed in the previous class, and that's what I have just shown you the continuation today, right? So there are some manifesto value systems will be there in Agile. At the same time, principles which Agile tells you. Let's say, for example, you are how I can relate, a simple way I can relate. Let's say, for example, Y is a person who is a soccer player, right? So he is very good at technique, right? So he play football well. So when his performance as well as the his play and as well as he get the credibility as long as he followed the value systems of the soccer game, right? So because soccer game will have some rules and regulations, principles, as long as that individual follows those, then only his recognition and his talent will be recognized and it will be appreciated. If that individual is not following any values or principles, no discipline, nothing, then even though how technically easy, good, right? So that doesn't have any value, right? So in the same manner, just because of that, we are working on Agile is not sufficient, right? So Agile will have some manifesto principles which people should adopt. To what extent are we adopting? Again, it depends on the experience what we carry, because I don't say because it's not a complaint, but it comes with practice, right? So it comes with practice. Initially, to start with, we may not be implementing or we may not be adopting all that at a time. But slowly, one by one, we will be adopting all this. Okay. So this is what generally Agile is majorly of, right? Agile has manifesto principles, all that. Now, when it comes to the Scrum framework, Scrum is understanding based on two things: Scrum ceremonies and Scrum artifacts. Scrum ceremonies followed by Scrum artifacts. Okay, so these are the two things. So when we use the Scrum is majorly used when we want to set up some strict timelines, right? For example, when there is a situation we come across that work has to be completed within the specific timelines and deadlines. If this was the situation, right, as per the project we are working on, then Scrum is more useful. At the same time, Scrum, if we want to divide the work based on the roles, then Agile is being used because Scrum is being used, because in Scrum we have different roles, whereas in other models like some other models like Kanban and all everything, we don't see these roles like, right? So, but whereas Scrum is role specific, so whoever is working under the Scrum has to will follow those rules, etc. All that, right? This is how generally the difference you can see from Agile to uh, Agile to Scrum. Now, manifesto principles we discussed. Then what is meant by what are all the Scrum ceremonies and are all about, right? So these are the Scrum ceremonies which are used in a part of implementation. Means if you want to implement something, if you want to implement Scrum ceremonies, all that stuff, if you are want to implement Scrum framework, all that, these Scrum ceremonies are useful to you, right? So because this is where generally implementation, because how Scrum will be implemented in real world, to explain that these Scrum ceremonies are something useful to us. So Scrum ceremonies as follows. The first one is called sprint planning. I will explain that one day. Okay, sprint planning. Second one is called daily scrum. Third one is called sprint review. Fourth one is called sprint retrospection or retrospective. Okay. Okay. Right. So these are the Scrum ceremonies. When you talk about Scrum ceremonies, these are the Scrum ceremonies. Means when we are implementing Scrum framework in the real world in the projects, normally these are the ceremonies we follow. One is about sprint planning, second is about daily Scrum, third is about sprint review, fourth one is called sprint retrospection. Right. So these are the four things we need to know. So followed by this, of course, there is Scrum artifacts also that I'll explain when it is needed. Okay. Now, if we want to know about how this can be implemented, right? So either whatever this, how generally sprint planning we do, right? So how do we conduct daily Scrum when this can be done? At the same time, how this sprint review will be conducted when this can be conducted, or else if we want to know how the sprint retrospection will be taken place. How sprint retrospection can be taken place. If we want to know this, first of all, you must be knowing about agile planning process, because in the traditional model you do, you anyway you know, because SDLC process, whatever I have explained you, analysis, planning, design, implementation, testing, the same process we follow in the traditional model. But whereas when it comes to the agile, it is different. Because when it comes to the agile implementation, whenever we are working on the agile environment, that is something different, because agile has a different structure altogether, right? So agile has a different structure, and agile planning process will also be different, because when we want to implement agile, when we are working on agile projects, means the planning process is different. Okay, so that planning process, when I'm explaining about the planning process, this sprint planning and all everything, you will be knowing well now. Okay, this is how generally agile planning process we follow. This Scrum ceremonies and all everything where comes under that direction only. Right. So this is where generally agile planning process is, right? So agile planning process steps are as follows. The first one in agile, because if you follow agile, I'm saying, okay, if you follow the traditional model, something like waterfall model and V model, then it is different. But whereas when it comes to the agile model is concerned, agile model has different steps. Means if you are implementing a project in agile and all, what steps are we going to follow? So the first one about the product vision and scope, point number one. Second, building the product roadmap, point number two. Third, creating a release plan, point number three. Next, sprint planning. This is where from here onwards, Scrum ceremonies will start. Sprint planning, point number four. Daily Scrum meeting, five. Review, six. Retrospection or retrospective, seven. So these are the steps which generally we follow in Agile, because in the traditional model, you don't see this structure, right? Whatever the structure I'm explaining to you, this kind of structure, you don't see it in the traditional model. This you can see it only on the Agile one. Now, what is that we do, especially in Agile, means when we are working on the project, what is that we do? Because last time I have given some examples to you, couple of examples in Agile. I'll give you in a simple note, because I think last time I have given an example of a manufacturing unit, right? So who manufacture infant products? I think that was I think that was the example I have taken, if I'm not wrong. I think that was the example. Right. So in that example, I told you what I told you in as part of their business expansion to the next level, what they want to do, they want to have some online shopping portal. So they want some digital marketing to be streamlined. At the same time, they want to they want to enhance their supply chain, manufacturing process, etc. And they may require some mobile application, mobile app, so that people can order online, because nowadays we are using everything, we are using mobile. So these are the four things. Now, first of all, if a customer want a product, an online shopping portal kind of product, a customer want, first customer should have a clarity. Understood? Customer, whoever is the customer should have a clarity of what is that they require. What is that they require? For what purpose? Who, what must be the, let me write down the points here. Hmm. Just give me a second. I think open the Word document that they have discussed with you, right? Yeah, this was the document. Yeah, let me write on here so that you guys will understand better. Okay. Hmm. Okay. For example, as far as agile planning process is concerned, can you see the screen properly? Is it visible to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yourself, Tanvir? Okay, great. Right. So agile planning process. The first one is to, the first point is this, right? So product vision and scope. Okay. So the step one is called product vision and scope. Okay, this is the point. So who should get the vision and scope of the product? The business team wants to know, or a business owner, a project sponsor, client, customer, whatever the name is. Right? So business team, step one, what are the steps we follow under step one? I'm explaining to you one by one. Okay. First, what they have to do. Step one, business team uh, discuss about the business situation first. Listen carefully because these are all stepwise procedures I'm explaining to you how we enter into agile. Okay, that was right. So business team discuss about the business situation. Based on that, they come up with uh, some problem or problems they are facing. Okay, they come up with some business problem or the problems they are facing. Now they want someone to address this. They want someone to address this. I mean to say vendor or a technical team. Okay, a technical team wants to address this problem. So when they wants to address the problem, first of all, in this case, business team, BT stands for business team. Okay, I'm not writing every time business team. I'm just mentioning it as BT, right? In this BT stands for business team should have a clarity of what we are expecting a technical team. TT stands for technical team. Okay. What we are expecting a technical team to develop. First point. Second, why is it required for us as of now? What are all it should consist of? Next, who are the beneficiaries? Next, how important how important or immediate for us to provide solution. Okay. So this clarity, who should be having this clarity required, and this clarity is required, especially for the business team, right? Business team should have a clarity. Based on that, what they do, based on the interaction they had with uh, their business team, they appoint an intermediary called product owner. Is it clear to you? Uh, Gurjeet, Gurpreet and Tanvir, Bhavik. Clear? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clear, right? So this
Yes.
is the first thing, right? So if a customer wants something, customer should have a clarity of what they want, why they want, for what purpose, all that. So this information knowledge transfer, I can say, this knowledge transfer will be given to the product owner. So what product owner do in the second step, product owner, so because everything is there with the product owner, because product owner knows about everything. Step two is to have a visualization, means whatever the vision they have to put it in the reality. This is what generally the second step consists of, means building a product roadmap. So why building a product roadmap? Building a product roadmap. Okay, this is the second step. So why you are required to build a product roadmap? Because the first one, product owner knows what they want. Product owner knows what they want. When they want, that is different. Okay, when they want means it talks about the timelines. Let us discuss about this later. Product owner knows what they want technical team to develop. Okay, product owner knows this. Now, what they have to know, a product owner has to put this into a visualized approach. Because let's say some Y is a person who is a product owner, knows about some shopping portal to be prepared for their requirement. But what must be the clarity here? The product owner has to rightly present what their requirement to the technical team, to the development team. Then only development team can develop solutions for them. If a product owner is missing in terms of the clarity, then there is no point in doing it. So what they do, for this reason, normally there are different tools, because whatever the Jira tool am I talking about, right? Whether it can be Jira or Azure DevOps, Rally, whatever the tools we can name. So why are we using these tools? Because of this reason. Because product owner knows about everything. So now product owner responsibility is to visualize this to the team, technical team. He has to present this to the technical team. How this can be presented, how these people should present to the technical team is what something you need to know or you need to learn. So this is where what they have to do. Second thing, product owner translate their vision into reality. Their vision into reality. For this, product owner has to visualize this in a form of product roadmap. Okay, why product roadmap we are creating? Because of this reason. right? So this product roadmap, this consists of epics and user stories. What is epic? What is user story? Yesterday, last time I told you. Examples I have given. Right? So epics and user stories is what something which product owner has to translate. So this is where generally building a roadmap will come into picture, right? So building a roadmap is what something which product owner has to do. In that roadmap, he will be writing he or she will be writing about the epics user stories, right? So everything will be mentioned in the roadmap. Now, whatever they have mentioned on the product roadmap may not be the final requirements, because over a period of time, if there is any other requirements will come and add, so automatically those will come and add into the existing repository. It's a continuous process. But as of now, to start with, whatever is needed, whatever is required is what something which we need to understand. That's where generally epics and user stories as of now for the project to develop will be created initially to start for that, so that they will be moving further. Right? This is where epics and user stories, etc., will come into picture. So once they have created epics and user stories, the next one, this is all something from the point of product owner. Next, third point, product owner will come up with some release plan. Okay, come up with some release plan. For example, right, 2 months. Right, release. I want a release in next 2 months. 2 months means if you are calculating this in weeks, which is 8 weeks of duration. 8 weeks of duration is 2 months. In this 2 months is my first release plan. So what product owners say? Product owners say that I want one release. The first release I want in next 2 months. What are all possible in next 2 months? What are my requirements? This is where generally product owner and technical team will discuss. Understood? Tanvir, Gurpreet,
Yes.
Bhavik, clear?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
product owner will tell you, right? So this is my release planning. What is my release? Next 2 months is my release planning. 2 weeks converting into 8 weeks. In 8 weeks, I want something. Some XYZ is what something required. Is it possible? No. Then what is possible? What can we do? So there must be a concrete understanding between product owner to the technical team. Then only this Scrum sprints and all everything will be successfully completed. As long as if there is any clarity missing between product owner to the technical team, either way, because sometimes product owner may not have a clarity what they want. There are possibilities, there are situations we come across. Sometimes there is a possibility that team may not understand the requirements well in advance. This is where mostly delay and as well as failure of sprints will be taken place because of this reason. Do you understand this, everyone? Tanvir, Gurpreet, Bhavik,
Yeah.
understood or not? Right? So a team has to understand what product owner wants. Product owner should clearly explain what is that they want. So for this, what is that we require in this context? For this, to get a clarity over the high level understanding, team has to come up with MVP. Last time I told you, right? In the last product, right? Minimum viable product. Okay. Because this minimum viable product will clearly defines us whether what customer is expecting, what is that we understood, because is there any difference between these two or not, right? So when you come to know, whenever we try to understand MVP, we come to know here. So if there is a match of requirements or the final conclusion, what customer is expecting, as of now, I'm talking about, as of now, as what a development team is identified, the same thing. That is where generally this product roadmap will be. So product roadmap will be created, followed by this MVP will also be discussed. So MVP, we don't put it anywhere in the Jira board somewhere. But generally MVP, as far as our discussion itself is concerned, while we are discussing with the team and all, we come to know, right? So what must be the minimum viable product, right? So will be discussed. So based on that, we will be moving further. That's what generally happen in the second step. Building a product roadmap is what this. Now, the third step is called step 3. This is where we call it as release planning. Okay, this is where we call it as release planning. We call it as step 3 relates to release planning. So what is release planning? In release planning, normally, what is that we want? Okay, what is that we want in the first release? All these will be discussed on the release planning, because last time on the Jira board I have shown. Release planning here, product owner creates this, and team should understand the final release goal, which they must execute. Which they must execute in this step. Okay, this step. But we are, let's say, for example, it's a 2 months release plan, right? Which is 8 weeks. Whatever the release goal we have, right? So this release goal won't be developed in what I can say, this release goal won't be developed in the single phase, right? So we don't do it. So what we do again, that can be divided into small checks. That is where generally sprints will come into picture. Means release goal you are planning. That release goal minimization is called sprint goal, right? So you are minimizing, means couple of sprint goals, end of the reaches to the release goal. That's how generally we plan the schedules and all. Because I'll tell you the reason. You can ask me one thing, Raj, when we talk about release goal as shared, why do we require to minimize this into sprint goals and all, right? Why do we require to create sprints, 1 sprint, 2 sprints, 3 sprints, 4 sprints in release, right? So why can't we do it in at a stretch? Because 2 months is not a big time, right? 8 weeks is hardly a time. So why don't we create all these in at a stretch, right? So why do we require to create in small chunks, all that? Okay, this may be the question anyone can have. So the answer is because, as I told you, agile we are following due to the volatility. So what they want now, what they want by tomorrow, we don't know. That's all something which depends on their business situation, whatever the requirements they want, that will be delivered by the team, right? So product owner, everyone. So what we do here, that's the reason why initially for the next 2 months, let's say, for example, 2 months means 8 weeks. Okay, we have 8 weeks time. Now you tell me what is that you want in next 1 week or 2 weeks. What is that fine? First of all, you want, for example, I want my customers want to see my products and they have to put it in the shopping cart. This was my requirement as of now, for example. So, okay. So in relate to that, how much time will it be taken for me to do it as of now? So after that, what next? I want someone, whoever is visiting my online shopping portal, they should have a provision to do some sign up process. Okay, that was something different. So whatever the release goal, if you want to release, based on the release goal, you are minimizing your sprint goals. But these sprints, whatever the requirements we are taking in the short level iterations, either it can be 1 or 2 weeks, will always keep on changes. Sometimes they say this, After a week or so, there are possibilities sometimes their business situation might be changed. So they may require something additional or something to be replaced. So these kind of things will happen. So it is really difficult for them. If you are planning this for a week at 8 weeks at a stretch, then there will be leads to confusion. So if you are dividing into small chunks, something like 1 week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all that, risk will come up. Understood? Clear? Bhavik, Gurpreet, Tanvir.
Yes.
Understood?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where generally this release planning. So release planning is important. So release planning doesn't mean what we can do in the first release. That is completely depends on the team. Team's responsibility comes into picture over here. So this is where generally release planning come into picture. Step 4. This step 4 is called sprint plan. From here onwards, what are the scrum ceremonies I have explained you, all these things are comes under this category, right? This is where generally sprint planning comes under picture. Whatever I have told you, right? Sprint planning, daily scrum, review, retrospections, all these things are comes under this category, sprint planning. Now, what we did so far, customer has a clarity. For that, to get that same tempo to be continued, they have assigned a product owner. That product owner has kept his vision into the reality by creating some product roadmap, etc. So after that, they did some release planning, right? So what is that release they want, right? So that release planning was created. Now time has come for implementation. Okay, implementation. This is where generally we call it as sprint planning stands for. There are some jargons and terminologies, especially in the field of Agile, you must be knowing. I think I might have written some points here, but let me write down again. No, I didn't write. Okay, no. Right. So there are some jargons and let me pause here and I'm going back to the jargons and terminologies first. I will explain so that there won't be any confusion to you to understand it. The first one, epic. Epic, nothing but large scale of solution. Right. So this is what we call it as epic. Next, what is user story? Short description of requirement. A short description of requirement. Next, what is sprint? It's a time boxing. It's a time boxing, which consists of few user stories that are about development. This is what we call it as sprint called as, right? So sprint like this, multiple sprints, for example. Right. So sprint 1, sprint 2, etc. Right. So sprint 1 may be having 1 week time. Right? So sprint 2 may have 2 weeks time. Right. It can be 3 weeks. It can be maximum 4 weeks. 1 week to varies till 4 weeks. If not, something customization also kar sakte, right? Customization also we do. It is not only 1 week kind of, right? So between dates also we'll be mentioning. This is sprint called as. Next, we are having one more point for product backlog. It's a repository to store all the user stories, not only user stories, there are a lot many things, right? So user stories are the tasks, are the bugs. Once we have identified once the implementation done, if there is any bugs were identified, again, that will be written back, right? So bugs, right? So whatever the technical dates we have, right? So all these things, etc., will be in the product backlog. It's a repository wherever you are putting all the user stories, stars, books, and etc. All that. From there onwards, we are moving to the sprint. Do remember whatever the process I'm explaining you, this is all something when we follow Scrum framework. Okay, not Kanban. Okay, there are two differences. Kanban, I'll tell you later. I'm talking about Scrum. Okay, whatever the terminologies I'm using, right? So everything is something relating to the Scrum framework. So why are we discussing more about Scrum due to the because of the prominency and the I don't say success rate, prominency. Because of the prominency, easy of use. Scrum framework will be used by the people more effective than anything else apart. That's the reason why we are talking about Scrum majorly, because Kanban is also has that its own usage, but that is different. That perception is different. That is more developer friendly perspective it is. But whereas Scrum framework is completely time boxing kind of, and we have different roles. Last time I think I have told you, right? So three different roles we have: product owner, Scrum team, and Scrum master. So those roles will be there, right? Those roles will be there. This is where generally this product backlog come into picture, right? So it's a repository to store all the user stories, tasks, bugs. All these things are comes under the product backlog, right? So these are all the jargons and terminologies you have to know, you need to understand. Now, coming back to the point here, right? So what is that here we do sprint planning? Okay, sprint planning we are doing. In this sprint planning, I'll show you a diagram so that you will be understood well. Yeah, if you can see here, I'll show you diagram for release planning also. 1 minute. Before, yeah, I have a release planning diagram, so I will show you. Yeah. This is where generally release planning come into picture, right? So release planning will be this, like this. These are the steps. If you want, you can write down. You can write down everyone, please. Gurpreet, Bhavik, Tanvir.
Okay.
If you want, you can write, or else you can take a screenshot. Either way of your choice. If your choice, right? So first we need to define the release goal. So based on the release goal and all, whatever the review of product backlog, priorities, tasks, and all, everything will be done here. So based on that, we do the estimation, right? So it may be 2 weeks time, right? So sorry, 2 months or 3 months and all everything. Based on that, whatever the number of sprints we required. So based on that, release planning and all everything will be made. Generally, this when we are creating a release planning, etc., all that, it's always important for technical team to be participated even in this, right? So it's not only by the product owner, even technical team will also be involved, because when there is a release goal we have defined, team has to know, right? Team has to see, right? So how much time will it be taken, right? So what can be done, right? So what must be the target release date? Team has to follow. I'm talking about the development team. In addition to that, even Scrum Masters will also allow, because Scrum Master should also be in the release plan so that they will be knowing about whether the team is moving on to the right direction or not. Because technical team, Scrum team consists of multiple people who are some experienced and non-experienced people will also be there. So that a Scrum Master always try to support the technical team. Because if there are any impediments they are identified, right? So if they have any see any kind of confusion over the team to understand the high level things, right? So always will be taken care of by the Scrum Master in these grounds. This is where generally this release planning and all everything will be done, right? So this is all something we call the release planning, etc. So once the release planning is done, the next one about sprint planning, right? So this is where this sprint planning come into picture. Sorry, 1 minute. This was not the case. Yeah, this is where generally the sprint planning come into picture. Yeah, this is where generally, yeah, sprint planning come into picture. Normally, when we are working on the sprint planning, first of all, we must be knowing about who are all is involved, right? In context to the sprint planning, who are all will be involved is what something we need to know. There are 3 people involved in this. First was product owner. Second, development team. Third, scrum master. Okay. These are the three people who will be involved in the sprint planning. Do remember, whenever we are doing a sprint, means whatever the sprint you are going to do, whatever the planning we do now, the same thing will be followed. For every sprint, we have to follow the same procedure. Whatever the procedure I am explaining you now, the same procedure will be followed for every sprint. This is not only for the first sprint. When you are going to start the next sprint, the same thing will be continued further. That's how the structure normally will go. In this context, normally, product owner, development team, scrum master, right? So these are the people who will be involved in this. Understood? Clear? Everyone? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gurjeet, Tanveer, Bhavik, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask. Yeah, Bhavik, please go ahead.
Yes, I had a question like in release planning. Uh,
Tell me.
what is the difference between estimate the release and the target release date?
Estimate is what product owners say that. Estimation release is what product owner tells. Let's say, for example, you are the product owner. You are telling the estimation release date, right? You are telling the estimation part. But who will be confirming the target release date? Development team will confirm the target release date. Why? Because when it comes to the implementation, whatever the business complexity is involved, a technical team will be knowing about that, right? So being a product owner, you may have different assumptions whenever we're talking about estimation release date, right? So you can say that it can be done, I want in 1 month. Okay. So I want either as you can say that I want in 1.5 months or so, something like, right? You say that. But necessarily in reality, based on the importance, whether it can be done or not, who will be deciding this? This will be decided by the technical team. So target release date with the consent of product owner, both, see, this end of the day, this is all something by combine, not by one individual as separate. By combine, we have to come up with the release date. With the product owner as well as the technical team, we come up with some duration, like either it can be 2 months or it can be a month. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be lesser, right? So this is all depends on the amount of effort which we wants to make for a particular release. Based on that, this target release date will be planned accordingly. Understood, Bhavik? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Clear? Right. So estimate release date will be assessed by the product owner. But in reality, it would be different, right? So when you come to a target release date, the target release date based upon the complexity of the work which has to be addressed, right? So based on the high level point of view. So based on that high level point of view, whatever the sprint planning and all everything we do will be based on that category. That's where generally release planning will be done first. Based on the release planning, implementation will be taken further. It's a bottom to top approach, I can say. Right? So you're going from bottom to top, not from top to bottom. Release planning will be done first based on the release targeted, because there is no guarantee that all the targeted tasks can be completed, because there are a lot of technical difficulties or the impediments which team will face in between. Because 100%, I don't say 100% all the target release dates will be reached by the team. In reality, I'm talking about. Formally speaking, yes, but in reality, it would be different. Because sometimes all of a sudden, product owner has changed the scope of the sprint. What will happen now? Understood? Clear, Bhavik?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Gurpreet.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there are possibilities, right? So because target release dates will be planned, but which is not 100% guaranteed. There is always a possibility of volatility. The reason why Agile we are introducing because of this reason, because Agile has an advantage where last minute changes kar sakte, right? So you can do last minute changes can be done. Why? Because again, if you can go back, the user story, the work what you are doing and all, everything is in a form of user stories. We are writing the user stories. Understood? We are writing user stories. Just because of that, we are writing user stories and all. There is a possibility, high probability we can do the changes. Why? Because user story has an individual on its nature. Okay, user story is an individual. There is no connect with user story to one more user story. Unless until if you are not mapping the user story, it won't connect. Right? User story mapping comes next. But when you are writing a user story belongs to a particular functionality. So whatever changes you want to make, you can make as many changes you want in that particular user story. You can rewrite the user story. Once you have rewritten the user story, effort will also change, right? So maybe story points may change. This is all happens. So there is a probability, especially in Agile in this. But whereas in the traditional model, you don't have, because every functionality is interconnected with other one. That's the reason why last time I told you about microservices concept. Now why are we going for microservices architecture in the field of IT? Because of this. Earlier, the problem was it's a tightly coupled, right? It's a monolithic approach earlier it was. If there is any change to be made in the existing application from the architectural point of view, I'm saying, okay, architectural point of view. Monolithic means it's a tightly coupled approach where if you want to make any changes in between the components and all, it is difficult for you because again, you have to restructure again everything and you have to retest everything from the beginning. Because if there is any changes was made, because everything was tightly coupled, right, which was interconnected with one among all. So there is a possibility that deviations or actually as the changes might be taken place in other functionality performances. To check with what you have to do whenever you are making some changes, you have to do the testing from the beginning, right? So you have to do the whole testing process has to be continued. So this is something really complicated to the team to do this because you never know, right? So how many times we wants to do this? This may be required for to do it for n number of times. All the time we have to do this. It increases the complexity, it increases the effort, it increases the budget, right? If effort increases, budget will also increase. More than the budget, I can say complexity. It raises the complexity among the team because again, there will be state of confusion there, right? So that's the reason why microservices concept was introduced. Why microservices? Because of this reason. The microservices component means, for example, if you have taken these components, let's say these are all different components, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So these are 7 components. 7 components, we are microservice created for every component as separate. Whenever if you want to make changes and all, that particular microservices component, if you have changed, that itself is sufficient so that it won't be affected in the other application. That's the reason why this microservices concept come into picture because these are all interconnected, guys. Okay, these are all interconnected internally. The reason I'm explaining because I'm talking about release planning again. You see, I went to architecture, right? So these are all interconnected when we are working for application. So that's the reason why this release plannings and all everything will be made. Understood? Clear? Gurpreet, Bhavik, Tanvi.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, come back. Right. Next, we are discussing about sprint planning. Right. Now, we are discussing about the sprint planning part. Now, in this sprint planning, first of all, product owner, because there are 3 roles as I told, right? So product owner will be there, development team and scrum master as well. So what product owner has to do? Product owner come up with the goal, the sprint goal, which they wants to achieve. They wants to achieve, or else in other way, if I can write, product owner will tell you, will inform what are all the issues or user stories, whatever it, right? What are all the issues to be addressed in this particular sprint, right? In this particular sprint, who will be decided, right? First of all, product owner will tell you, right? So product owner will tell you what are all to be addressed in the particular sprint. Okay, particular sprint. right? So this sprint, for example, this sprint, for example, we have decided that this is a 2 week sprint. Okay, 2 weeks. In 2 weeks is the sprint we have. In this 2 week sprint, some XYZ is what something required. This is what something which product owners say. Now, what is that we have to do? Effort estimation is what something we have to do, right? How much time will it be taken for them to complete all that? Now, from here, technical team has to decide how much time or effort will this be taken to complete. Okay, who has to decide this? Technical team has to decide this. Technical team has to decide this, right? So how much time will it be taken and how much effort will this be taken? So for this purpose, for this, estimation will be done based on two things, based on two ways, right? Effort estimation. This is what we call it as effort estimation. We call it as will be done based on two ways. What are those ways? The first one, yeah, what are all the ways? The first one is called story points. Second one, we can divide this into tasks, right? So story point is the one thing. And second is about the tasks. When we are taking story points into consideration, story points will be taken into consideration when we are ready to develop based on the user stories. Based on the user stories. Means, for example, you have taken a user story and team is ready to develop based on the user story. Okay. Then we have to calculate effort estimation based on the story points. This is one thing. Otherwise, what we can do, that user story can be minimized into multiple parts, can be minimized into different parts. This is where generally tasks will be taken into consideration. If it is task, effort estimation will be on days, it will be on hours and days. Okay, hours and days will be taken, right? So a task means if you are dividing into task, it is this. If your story point, we give, if you are taking user story, then story points. This is where generally effort estimation has to be done. So if you want, before we are going for this effort estimation, there is one more point which we need to know. This is where which we call it as capacity planning. There is a point called capacity planning. Understood, everyone? Clear? Gurpreet, Vivek,
Yeah.
right? There is a concept called capacity planning. So I'm pausing here. This point I'm pausing, right? How to do story points calculation. I am not saying this, okay? This is where general technical team do, right? So estimation has to be done. Now, in between of this estimation, there is a capacity planning. There is a concept called capacity planning coming to picture. There is a concept called capacity planning coming to picture. Now, who are connecting from the laptop? Gurpreet, Vivek, Tanvir. Who is connected from laptop?
No.
Who is connected from laptop or a desktop, whatever it is? Everybody connected from the mobiles or what?
Yes, I'm connected from laptop.
Yeah.
Who is
I am,
using
yes.
laptop? Vivek,
Yeah.
Tanvir.
No,
I'm from the phone.
I'm using laptop.
Who? Gurpreet or Vivek or Tanvir?
Yes.
Tanvir?
Yes, I'm using laptop.
Tanvira?
No, it's me, Tanvir.
Okay, right. So I'll
Yes.
do one thing. I'll just make you, because this effort is this capacity planning, you can do it. Okay, you can do it on your own. So I will tell you, because rather than me doing, you do it.
Yes, yes.
What I'm doing is I'm making you as host. Okay, first of all, open an Excel sheet. Open Excel sheet, a plain Excel sheet, and keep it ready. I'll make you as host. Right? How the capacity planning we do, I'll tell you. Open one Excel sheet, Tanvir. I'm making you as host. Okay. Please share your screen once you have opened the Excel sheet. Plain Excel sheet I want.
Sorry, give me a moment. Let me see. I don't
Yeah.
think I have Excel on my
You will
laptop.
only
Let me
do
check.
this. Okay, I'll tell you how to. You can open an Excel sheet. Do you want me to do now? Otherwise,
Hello?
okay, then no problem. I'll open the Excel sheet and I'll tell you. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
I will do it. I am the presenter now, right? Okay. I'll do it. Okay. For example, I will open an Excel sheet. Sample. How the capacity planning we do, I'm explaining. Okay. Now, in context to the capacity planning. Capacity planning. Because capacity planning means how much team size we have, right? So what will be their capacity to calculate that? To do this capacity planning, first of all, we'll be writing about, first we need to know the sprint duration. Okay, the sprint duration. For example, sprint duration is 2 weeks. Sprint duration is 2 weeks. Point number one. Point number two. Second, for example, how many number of people, number of team size. Okay, number of team size. Number of team size is 5 members. Okay, 5 people. Right, so 5 people are there. Right, so number of team size is 5. Now, average effort, the average time they spend in a day. Okay, normally what is that we do? Usually 8 hours is the time. Okay, 8 hours is what something which we calculate. 8 hours time will be taken people work. But in reality, 8 hours won't be there, right? It come down also sometimes. Because why? Because there will be some breakfast time. If there is any important meetings will be conducted in between. So anything can happen. Okay, this is all somewhere. That's the reason why I'm taking 6 hours per day. 6 hours per day per person. Per person. Understood? Guys, clear? Understood or not? Vivek,
Yeah.
Tanvir, right?
Yes.
Now, let's calculate here. First of all, it's a 2 week sprint.
Yeah.
6.5 hours per day per person. 5 people are there. 2 weeks is the sprint, right? So 2 weeks is the sprint. Capacity planning is what something we have to do. First of all, we need to create a column for members first. members. Okay, for example, members. Next, availability. So availability. Members, availability. Okay. Next, production hours. Production hours. For example, members, let me put you A, B, C, D, E, right? For example, these are 5 members we have, right? A, B, C, D, 5 members. Now, for example, this first member, if it is 2 weeks, let's say, for example, when we are talking about 2 weeks, how many working days? Last time also I told you, right? So if it is 2 weeks means 10 working days normally. Normally it's a 10 working days. Assume that there are no government holidays or public holidays in between. In this particular 2 weeks time I'm talking about, right? This is not the same for all the sprints, right? Last time also I told you. Maybe if there is any public holiday or government holiday came in between, you need to deduct it. But as of now, for these 2 weeks, we have Monday to Friday. This is the scheduled dates. 5 into 2, 10 days. 10 working days is what the time. Now, this 10 working days, A person is available for 10 days. Now, B person is available only for 8 days. This lady is available only for 5 days, for example. Okay. This gentleman is available for 10 days. At the same time, this lady is available for 9 days. Understood, Bhavi, Tanveer,
Yeah.
Sudesh,
Yes.
Gurpreet, right? Raman?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So availability means these days, these many days only these people are available. Means indirectly what we are saying is that these people have taken some leaves or something like. So assume that these are the availability. So how much is the availability? 42, right? 42. Right. So 42 days, I can say, right? 42 days is the availability which these people can spend. Now, if the person is available for 10 days, right? So 10 into 6.5, how much it's coming around 65?
65.
1 minute. Can you multiply and tell me? Because rather than doing me, you please let me know. Okay. 10 into 66.5, 65. Okay. 65 are the production hours. Okay. 8 into 6.5, how much? You calculate and tell me.
52.
Huh?
52.
52, okay. 52. Okay. 5 into 6.5.
32.5.
Huh? 32?
0.5.
32.5 means 33. Okay. I'm taking.
Hmm.
Next, this is 65.
65.
9 into 6.5.
58.5. So 59.
58.5 and 59. 59. Okay. Now, how many are the production hours here? If you are calculating this production hours, this is 274 production hours. Yes, sir. Right? Here, available dates of a team in 2 weeks sprint equal to 42 days. 42 days. Now, availability. This is where capacity planning is what something which normally we have to do it. Right? Point number 1, 42 days. Next, production capacity. Time, otherwise you can write time spent by the team, which is called effort. Effort of availability. Equal to 274 hours. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
42 days, 274 hours. This is the calculation. But actual calculation was what was the actual calculation? I think 6.5 hours, right? So 5 people, which is 65 into 5. 65 into 5, 325. How much? 65 into 5, 325. Is it 325? How
Yes,
much?
325. 325.
325. See,
Yeah.
so actual total capacity. What will be the total capacity? Total capacity of the team is usually, right? So if everybody are absent, if everybody are present, 325 hours, right? So 325 hours. This was the time. But when it comes to the effort estimation, if you calculate how many hours these people can spend, these people can spend only for 270 hours. So why are we saying this? Because whenever there is a sprint planning we do, effort estimation, capacity planning is what something we have to do for effort estimation. Because effort is relating to the work, what you are supposed to do it. But when it comes to the capacity planning based on the availability of the team size, based on the availability of how many hours these people can spend every day, right? So how many weeks of sprint are we working on? So based on that, normally these hours will be calculated so that normally, usually this is the one which normally done by usually this will be done by the Scrum team and all that, right? So Scrum team has to know, right? So how many hours these people can sprint in a day or in a week, right? So people know. So based on that, we see, right? So how much work they are taking, right? Whether is this work can be completed within the stipulated, because do we have enough hours? Let's say, for example, some work we have taken when we are converting into hours, this can be completed in 200 hours of time, for example, right? So here availability time people can spend is 274. So that we have enough time. So if you want to do the effort estimation, before we are doing effort estimation for a particular work to be done, first thing what is that we have to do is to understand and identify what must be the available time if people can spend to complete work. This is where generally this capacity planning will come into picture. Understood, Gurpreet, Tanvir, Bhavik?
Yes.
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 Clear? Any questions? Please go ahead.
So, Raj, quick question. So, what would happen, say, that if somebody calls on the same day, say a sick day?
Sorry,
So,
I'm not getting you.
so,
Can you come again?
yes, if somebody calls a sick day, for example, doesn't come to work for that one day,
See, the
then
remaining people has to compensate. There is no because
okay.
that's what agile. Thank you. This is a valid point. Let's say, for example, someone has missed for one day, right? So due to urgency, medical urgency or something, for example. So other people has to be taken care of that work and has to be completed. That's what agile we tell you, right? So because there is no, I don't say that everybody must be capable enough to handle every situation, right? So because if you are a developer, doesn't mean that you will be doing only coding, right? So you must be ready to perform everything in agile, right? So you must be ready to do user interface designs, testing, right? So whatever it is, right? So you must be ready for everything. So if someone is, even though the capacity planning we did, because as rightly said, Tanvir, sometimes in between, right? So there are some emergency which one day people were missing. The other people has to taken care of that work and they have to complete it. For that reason, there is no excuse. We don't give any excuse in terms of the duration or hours. Other people have to taken care of that work and they have to complete end of the day, because this is where generally daily stand-up meetings will be conducted. Daily scrum meetings, whatever the work we have discussed in the morning, that has to be presented by the evening to the customer. Okay, because the evening usually we get a customer call, because scrum masters usually we get the customer, we get the calls in the evening, right? So that what was taken in the morning, right? So what was completed, which responsibility taken by whom, right? So who has done this, right? So what was their observation, right? So everything will be discussed in the evening call itself. So if there is anybody who is absent in between, other people has to compensate and they have to complete. Just because of that, there won't be any excuse for this. Clear,
Mm.
Tanvir, Gurpreet?
Yeah.
Bhavik?
Yeah.
Right, so this is how usually this capacity planning is not something which normally we do whenever we are working on the sprint planning, right? So at the time of sprint planning, this effort estimation is something essentially important. So what is that we do in sprint planning and how this can be done, right? What are the steps to be taken into consideration? Because we have not started sprint planning yet, right? Just we have taken only these two. What are the steps to be taken? That I'm going to discuss in tomorrow's session. Of course, I mean Saturday session. Okay. In that
Mhm.
continuation,
Mhm.
I'll do it on the day. Clear? Any questions? Gurpreet, Tanvir, Avik. Any questions?
No.
Any
No.
questions, please? Okay, fine. So we'll meet again on
Okay, sir.
Saturday and we continue from here onwards. See you then. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Goodbye.